And now we go to our next speaker, the last speaker. That's Nikolas from PropTech One, and he is going to talk about ESG in real estate industry. Just more reporting overhead or a real business opportunity for PropTech? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because everybody is talking about ESG. So, Nikolas, welcome on stage.
Hi there.
How are you?
Very good today. Yeah, a hot summer day in Berlin too.
Yeah, it's warm. Yeah, but it's a nice summer, I guess. I hope, and I hope it will also be a nice summer. Really looking forward to your. Do you have some slides with you?
Yes, I have, and I will share them. So there they are.
I see them already. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, everybody's talking about ESGs lately. How come?
Yeah. So that's exactly the content here. So it's of course a big push from European Union and a lot of legislators around the globe, also in the United States under the Biden administration, as you just briefly touched. But there's more, and so if you want, I can go into the presentation and explain a little bit how we view that topic and why it's a business chance at the end of the day, and not just a burdensome exercise.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So I give you the floor, and I will see you in 10-15 minutes.
Thanks a lot. So here we go. Thanks for having me. As you already heard, so I'm Nikolas from PropTech One. So we're a leading PropTech fund in Europe. So just a little bit of background on us. So we were founded at the beginning of 2018 with, of course, the thesis everybody knows: real estate, biggest asset class on planet Earth, not really ahead of the curve. Speaking of digitization, process methodology, and so on and so forth. We're a pretty large team with around 12 full-time professionals plus around 10, 12 senior experts from the industry, including former chief executives from companies like Vonovia, JLL, Credit Suisse, and so on. So I think a pretty powerful setup. What we basically do day in, day out is we scan the market for interesting prop tech and construction tech companies from across Europe. We currently have something like 800 companies in that funnel you see here in the slide. We did 10 investments in portfolio companies so far. In reality, we invested many more times because in some of these companies we invested like 3 times over the life cycle. We are like 50% German speaking Europe, 50% rest of Europe, and we are strongly expanding our European footprint. So just have set up London as an office beginning of this year, are very active in Nordics right now, and also Benelux is definitely on the map. We also have a dedicated analyst who's covering the Benelux ecosystem. Shareholders in our fund, our broad mixture of real estate companies, banks, developers, property managers, pension funds, whatsoever. So really across the full value chain. And so this, again, gives us more deal flow, more insight. For example, Berlin Hüb is a leading bank for ESG financing. And that's exactly the topic we're talking about. So we're also learning a lot from our shareholders. Coming to ESG, so we published a white paper on exactly that topic, so PropTech and the ESG factor. You can download that for free on our website if you want. And beyond ESG as an investment topic for us, so ESG technology or greater tech, as I once said, of course, we are also an ESG compliant fund ourselves, maybe the first one in Europe. So coming to the question, so just more reporting fuss or a real game changer for the real estate industry and therefore also big business opportunity. So what are exactly the forces that are kind of accelerating the ESG transition? It's threefold. It's public pressure, it's European regulation, not just European, but in our case, of course, Europe is the system we're looking at, and it's top-down investment decisions that are changing. So what does that mean? So everybody knows all these examples that, unfortunately, if we look at headline news and you kind of mute COVID, the number one story is tipping points in the climate crisis is now the kind of the summer fire season starting much earlier than before, and so on and so forth. And this is not just we're not just noticing that, it also changes the political discourse. It changes election behavior. It changes how people are kind of going on street to fight again for the future of the planet. So there is immense pressure coming up. And as you all know, real estate is an industry that's especially sensible to these kind of pressures. Because if somebody wants to get a permit for a large building in, let's say, a top city, a lot also of local government is involved. The local community must be on board. So this is really an important aspect for real estate also on the short term. It's not just the E elements, the environment element, but it's also the social element. So we all know that real estate, especially in the large European cities, creates intense social discussions around rising prices for flats, for example, gentrification discussions, and so on and so forth. In Germany, currently, we have the discussion going on to have rental price caps in Berlin, and maybe that will be rolled out to all over Germany. So in all kind of left-leaning programs from the parties that are running for elections across Europe, you will find elements that go into that direction to kind of limit the let's say the capitalistic movement inside real estate, and put it in a more socially kind of mild, reduced form. Again, heavy impact on the business models here, something every real estate investor and every real estate manager has to consider. So European regulation can be split up into several large buckets. One of the largest one is the EU taxonomy, but there's, for example, also the so-called Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, SFDR, that creates a lot of headache currently for fund managers, investors, banks, and so on and so forth, because they will be much more transparent with where they exactly put their money in. So it's much more important to really prove that the assets you have in your portfolio are green and not brown. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we see that a lot of large investors are anticipating even more regulation down the road. So if you read something in the news that the BlackRock CEO sends out a letter to all his asset managers and the companies he's giving money to, that they need to create more green assets kind of instantly, this is not because he wants to save the planet. Maybe that's a positive side effect. This is because of pure capitalism. His investors, so the largest fund managers in the world, pension funds, state funds, and so on and so forth, will manage their assets according to ESG criteria, in a way that just in the future, they will just say, simplified, these trillions of dollars we have, we want to have 20, 30, 40% ESG compliant. And this pressure is then coming down to kind of the asset managers in the middle and every real estate developer, asset, and so on and so forth. And that is really a huge pressure. So ESG is not nice to have anymore for everybody in that chain. It will be just too kind of expensive to not be ESG compliant in the future, because your cost of capital will rise maybe kind of to the unlimited. Maybe it will even not be possible anymore to kind of finance portfolios that don't have a relevant ESG percentage in. So where's the beef, especially now for startups? If we do a simplified calculation, we can see, for example, here from a Deloitte study that in United States, there are currently, $12 trillion managed in ESG mandated programs. That will rise to 34 billion over the next couple of years. If we now look at how many buildings we have, and we take the example from Germany, but the numbers pretty much scale up across Europe, currently we have something like 2,000, 3,000 buildings in Germany that are ESG certified, not more. If we just apply these numbers that we see here, we need to have 10 million buildings by 2025. That's a yearly growth of more than 300%. So this is exactly what we're talking about. It's not a nice, small, nice to have, some 5% growth. It's 300% per year. So how do startups participate from them? I just give you some examples. Building new real estate in an ESG compliant way is great. So great business. It makes sense. You can earn decent money. Plus it helps to save the planet. But real estate in Western markets is 99% kind of a legacy problem. We need to work on the existing real estate portfolios. We need to transform existing real estate in a scalable, fast, efficient, and net zero style. And this is exactly what, for example, EcoWorks is doing, one of our portfolio companies. So they are a market leader adopting, applying modern methodology to serial modernization, kind of reducing the time you need to renovate a house to a net zero level from, let's say, a year down to months and weeks, using different modern methodology and products. And they're also, by the way, generating a lot of IPR on the way. So this is also something where you can file patents. It's not just pure software, which is also good to protect your IPR. So these kind of companies are currently, from our perspective, the best bets, kind of, if you want to bet on the commercial effects of that transition. Because already right now you can get like 40% government money for a project where you transform a piece of real estate into that net zero level, and kind of the budgets are pretty much unlimited all across Europe. So I think this is really a sweet spot area. Another example, company called Ampere's Energy. It's not in our portfolio, but this is really a good one on the market. So they are, we think, a market leader to both kind of consult and then deploy a software as a service solution for decentralized energy management. Why is that so important? Regulation changed a lot, and there are now a lot of incentives in place that real estate owners also become energy producers in the future. And it's no longer the old paradigm that when you have a solar system on top of a house, you just put the electricity in the grid and you have a fixed tariff for feeding that in. Now the schemes change. So you now want to store, and consume the electricity you produce kind of local. And local doesn't necessarily mean it's just one house. It can be a set of houses. So you can connect together parts of your portfolio, even if it's like physically disconnected, and that can be operated kind of as a virtual power plant. And so to run this paradigm, you need a lot of know-how, of course. You need a lot of software and also some hardware systems. And this usually is not the classical skill set of a real estate company. So another area where it's now really high time for clever startups that combine these software and hardware elements, this know-how, more from the energy part, and bring that to real estate. Another example is a company, again, from our portfolio called Thingit, which we believe is in Europe one of the leading companies for what we call an IoT middleware. So what they basically do is that they integrate all kinds of sensors and systems in a complex piece of real estate and enable hundreds of different use cases. So this is not just the post-COVID back to office, we need flexibility play. Of course, that's also included. But this is also about security, of course, energy efficiency, and so on and so forth. So we believe that most more complex pieces of real estate, so let's say a high-rise office building that's now renovated or newly built, will include an operating system of some kind that can kind of make the real estate smart. And one of the aspects, one of the use cases definitely is catering towards environmental aspects. And the last case study I want to give you is a company that does the S again, so is in the social dimension active. Seniovo is a company that does barrier-free remodeling of flats and houses. And why is that so important? So not to forget that we have the demographic change, especially across European cities. And this is one of the large megatrends besides, let's say, COVID, which hopefully is temporary, and the climate crisis, which unfortunately is not temporary. So demographic change happens. And we just need to look at the statistics. It will be kind of impossible to build central facilities for elderly people in the speed we need. And it's also not a good thing. So all statistics say the longer an elderly person stays in his own house or flat, the better it is for the person, it is for society, it is for the insurances, for the health system. So tons of aspects where it really makes sense to kind of enable their physical location in a way that it's barrier-free, that they can stay mobile as long as possible. And Seniovo is exactly doing that, and is catering to the special needs of that target group that, for example, of course, is not very skilled in discussing how to renovate the project, how to do like an RFP with some construction companies, and then kind of to clear the invoices with the insurance companies. So Seniovo is taking care of all of that. And so this is just another example that shouldn't be forgot. Yeah, it's not just environmental, it's definitely also the social element we're talking about. And that's it from my side. I could give you like 50 more examples. So it's really a great time to build a startup and to invest in these companies.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you very much, Nikolas. So we talk about climate change, ESGs, net zero carbon buildings, smart and healthy buildings. You see all these kind of pledges right now of real estate companies that they say, well, we want to have net zero buildings in 2045, 2050. What do you think? We can do a lot right now or not? We don't have to wait for 30 more years.
Absolutely. I think so that's a great question. So number one, I believe that all these numbers we're currently discussing are bogus. We will, the pressure is so high. Unfortunately, the climate crisis is kind of accelerating, in a non-linear way. So all these timelines will get accelerated, rather soon than later, And we already saw that it's not just regulation, it's also litigation. We saw that we had several courts ruling, that what governments proposed as timelines are not sufficient. That happened, for example, in the highest court in Germany, and of course, the Shell ruling, that's again, it's the tip of the iceberg. So we will see that more often. So this is why if anybody now says, oh my God, I already have a headache with these deadlines, get over it. It will be accelerated. You need to do it quicker. And as you said already, so there are a lot of low-hanging fruits. And unfortunately, there are also real estate companies that are starting now, right now, that understand that. But of course, there are still some conservative laggards that are maybe kind of behind that. But this is, from my perspective, this is really a decisive moment. So if you're a real estate manager, it's really now you can choose to be kind of on top of the train, and be a winner of that transition. Or if you now sit back in your kind of warm chair and still count your dollars, maybe your days are over. You will be out of the market in 5 to 10 years.
So or you are a front runner and you are Tesla or not.
Exactly.
But so what would your advice be to those people that are not the front runners? What do you say to them?
I think the first thing is it's kind of an attitude issue. You must be open to change. You must accept that change is coming, and change is a chance for your business, and it's you're not in danger if you are open about it. It's a culture thing, first of all, right? The second thing is, of course, kind of look at the already existing best practice examples. It's not rocket science anymore. You can look how to build a new building that is made out of wood, for example, or look at the buildings that OVG Edge was doing, or whatever. So there are existing examples. It's not super difficult to adopt these things. The second thing is talk to these startups, because these startups can provide solutions that will accelerate your existing business. It's components you can use. The good news, so in other industries, startups are very disruptive. They kind of destroy the incumbent players. In PropTech, 9 out of 10 startups are not disruptive. They are working with the industry. They offer something that can accelerate the industry and help them in the transformation. So this is why so I would advise everybody to be open, to actively interact with the startup, with the PropTech community, and kind of find your set of tools that will help you in your own transition.
Cool. So, well, a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs that like to become, like to create a PropTech company. What is, well, you talked already about a couple of topics where you have amazing technology. Do you see also some areas where we need new PropTech companies?
Yes. So, for example, I still think if we look at construction material, it's so the only topic that currently most people talk about is using wood instead of concrete. Yeah. And of course, this already creates some problems with kind of scarcity of wood, especially sustainable wood, because you can't just multiply the production within weeks. So we need also to have more material choices that are also sustainable. Yeah, that's just starting. Give you another example: insulation material. Yeah. Kind of 99% of the material we are currently using is based on fossil fuel. So it's not sustainable by definition. So this, for example, in itself is a massive area where new technology is needed. So because we're talking about energy efficiency, remodeling of existing real estate. If we do that using kind of toxic, non-sustainable material, of course, we just postpone the problem, 10 years down the road. So we need to have more kind of material science innovation in these areas. So besides all the kind of obvious, technology, digital, data-driven stuff, that of course is the basic, because if we don't have data, we even don't know how to assess a portfolio, right? Yeah. We're now getting into the more physical domain. We need materials, systems. We also need people, by the way. It's not that only the robots can work on these buildings, right? So we have a high shortage with skilled labor in Europe. So that's also an issue. Clever startups should take care of.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much, Nikolas, for your insights, and wish you a great day. This was really amazing. So I hope to speak to you again soon during one of our other events. And well, enjoy your day in Berlin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.